are live, and
We made
we're
it.
yep, and we're in another session of mobile app redesign for developers with our special guest Brandon Minnick.
What's going on, Luis? Good to see you again.
Everything is good so far. This week has been kind of hectic at work, but we're getting through it. Finally, it's Friday. Everything got shipped. How about you?
Nice.
How's the week been?
Oh, dude. Good week. Really productive week. We talked about on the last stream the new library I just published called GitHub API Status, and what started out is basically like a helper library that we actually use in GitTrends. I just figured I could NuGetize that, put it up in the cloud essentially via NuGet, and then share it between a couple other projects where I'm using the GitHub APIs. And then learned a bunch of more things about the GitHub APIs that I rolled into it, and then I added support for .NET Core 3 and .NET 5, and replaced the Newtonsoft.json with system.text.json, so you don't even need to take a dependency out if you're using .NET Core or .NET 5. And so, yeah, really proud of how it turned out. I think I pushed 3 pre-releases that kind of iterated on each other. But yeah, man, we're using it in GitTrends. It's working. I got a whole suite of unit tests to make sure. But yeah, I think I'll push it probably live next week. Do a little blog post.
Nice.
Although it's very niche. I have no idea if anybody's going to use this. You have to be a .NET developer leveraging the GitHub APIs. That's my target demographic.
Yeah, I saw, I think yesterday or today, you post something on Twitter about it, saying about the same thing, that it's kind of niche, but it actually makes sense. It's not for everyone, but for whoever's using GitHub, it's gonna be a great help. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I'll definitely use it, because some of the apps we do are targeted for for developers, and that we're trying to make them sign in with their GitHub. So yeah, it's gonna be useful for that project I'm doing.
yeah, right on. Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, even more niche is how many developers or .NET developers are using the GitHub API, and then also need to worry about hitting the maximum API call.
Yeah,
But
but then again,
we got your back.
yep. And then again, you created this, but the main purpose was not getting a ton of people on it. It was just making your life easier while you were working on your project. So
Yeah.
it's if someone else can use it, yeah, it's good. But at least you know that you have your peace of mind that you're saving a ton of time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. And this whole time I had just been checking the response headers. So just making valid REST API calls, GraphQL API calls to the GitHub API, and then just parsing the response headers. So that's where GitHub puts in the information about how many requests you have left, essentially, before you hit the maximum API limit. But yeah, in this whole effort, I learned GitHub has a dedicated API. It's just /rate limit that you can call, and it doesn't impact your remaining API calls. And so it gives you back all the data about the REST API, the GraphQL API, their search API, and they've got a couple more APIs, which they all handle differently with the rate limiting. But yeah, I didn't know that existed. And so in one area, I was just making a random API call to GitHub just so I could get the response headers back and figure out how many calls I had left, which burns an API call, ironically. But now we can just use GitHub's API status, this official .NET library, and leverage the official GitHub API that just gives you the info without impacting your rate limit. So, yay! we'll save at least a couple API requests, hopefully.
Yeah. And I'm looking at the chat right now, and I see we have a few of our users already logging in.
All right.
So please confirm to us if you can listen to us clearly, if you can see us moving with no problem, there's no lag on the screen. The normal drill as always. I see Homero Lara is saying hi. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Luis. There is also Lester. Lester is online as well. I see he says, "Hey, everybody." Let me put some of
Looking good.
these messages in the stream so they can stay recorded as well. Oh, I see they're confirming as well that everything looks good so far. No issues here. So yeah, I think we can get started. What do you think, Brandon?
Nice.
Nice.
Well, yeah. So on. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So the first thing I think we should do is, like always, let's go and see what's the agenda like for today, right? And then I want you to walk us through a little bit on what we're gonna be seeing today and those points and where we left off on last session, right? So let me pull up my screen here. Add to stream. And there you go. So this is, let me zoom in here to the agenda. So yeah, this is our agenda for today. As we decided in the previous streams, we have decided on a new modality, right? So now we have 2 sessions in the week. So Wednesdays are for brainstorming and mockup and doing designs and also thinking about architecture stuff in our code, right? How are we going to organize stuff and how are we going to code our implementation? And once we have that brainstorm, we're coming now on Fridays and we're basically going to focus on live coding everything with all the requirements we analyze and implement basically the strategy we came up with, right? So today we're going to be seeing in the agenda, we're going to be live coding the empty state for 0 stars and adding a call to action message. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about an idea we had last session about maybe adding a button for when it's 0 stars, like to get the user to share in his social media, maybe. We're also going to be like coding the empty state for 1 star. Brandon is going to tell you a little bit more why we have 2 empty states and why one is for 0 star and one for 1 star. Then we're going to start working on the header, the stats header for this page, right? And last but not least, we're going to also look at the remember, can you remember me that name, that word again? How do you pronounce this?
Oh, axis.
Yeah. So we're going to be punishing the axes. I always miss that pronunciation there. So we're going to be polishing the axis of the charts. And yeah, it should be an interesting day today. Basically live coding and getting all this code in, right? So Brandon, walk us a little bit through what we were doing last session and what we're going to do today, right?
Sure. Yeah, I'll even start sharing my screen.
Yep.
And
let me pull it up here.
Yeah, we can show off kind of what do we have done so far. But while this is compiling, we talked about having 2 different empty states for our stars chart. One empty state for when the user has 0 stars and a different empty state for when the user has 1 star. And I'll show you what it looks like in a minute, and hopefully you'll agree that showing off a graph with just 1 data point on it doesn't look good. But that's basically what we found when we were putting together this new chart, was that when there's no data points, then obviously your graph is going to be empty, and we don't want the user to think that they did something wrong. Like maybe they see this empty chart and think, oh no, I must not have an internet connection. Let me force quit the app and try it again. Instead, we can put an image there, and that image can also add some words of encouragement, like you can do this, to both let them know that there's just no data, like we did successfully called the GitHub APIs. There's just no data, and that's okay. But rather than seeing that empty chart, we'll show them a nice encouraging graphic instead. And so let's see. So I've got some repos with 0 stars. Oh no. Thought I fixed that bug. It's exactly what we ended on last time. So let's see here. It was because the empty data view is being placed before the chart. So the chart was always hiding it. So let's run this again. We'll show off that empty data view. And if I remember correctly, yep, we have our empty star chart plugged in. So we designed that on Wednesday. Luis exported it and added it to the app also on Wednesday. So we ended the show on a nice win. And yeah, so with 1 star, while that's building, we can go ahead and peek at a repo with 1 star. Because, 1 star doesn't look great either. So, oh no, the debugger. Dang. All right. Here we go.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
We'll load this up. We'll see what it looks like. Give it another second to hit all the GitHub APIs, pull it down all the data. And as soon as I see one with 0 stars, we can click on it. Wait for it. 0 stars. All right. Boom. Much better. So
nice.
This is what we accomplished last week. Cool fun fact with iPhone simulators, you can do Command-Shift-A, and it'll toggle to dark mode. And because our app has a dark theme,
wait, what? Repeat that command? That was nice.
Yeah, man. This one right here, toggle appearance.
Oh, I didn't know we could just use that shortcut. That's nice.
Yeah. So I added some logic into the app. Basically, an event will fire when I see the operating system theme is changed. And so, yeah, we can toggle back and forth right here in the app. And so what's kind of cool is it's the exact same image for both light theme and dark theme, but it definitely has a different feel to it, which is kind of cool. And
yeah, definitely.
We'll say half intended, half lucky.
Yeah. Like, we can definitely say those 10 minutes trying to decide the hair color of the girl in the illustration was worth it.
Oh yeah, makes everything worth it.
Yep.
So yeah, this is what we have, and this is what it will look like when you have 0 stars. This text is something that we'll update today, because right now it's using the same text on both charts. So we'll have to make another string in our view model, get some bindings wired up. But with 1 star, how far do I have to scroll for 1 star? There we go. So here's a star. That's what it looks like. And what's the point, right? Because this doesn't show you anything other than the first star happened back here in February 2018. Which is weird because this was just a repo I made for a reproduction. Like, there was a bug in Xamarin Forms that I reported, and I always like to put together a little sample app. And yeah, so this chart doesn't tell you anything. What we want, the whole intent of doing this star chart is, let's sort it by some big stars. So the whole point of doing these charts is so you can look at the chart and in a glance get information from it. So for example, this is my async await best practices library. And at a glance, I can see that we had some spikes in views. Looks pretty flat though. Nothing's really trending up, trending down. And then this is the stars for the same repo. And again, in a glance, I can see that it's trending up. And oh, that's kind of cool. There was like a spike for some reason right here. And then you can go try and, if you're interested, figure out why did that spike happen, or maybe that was a day you launched an app or launched another version of a library. But right, so the 1 star chart, it doesn't show you anything. It doesn't give you any data. And similar to the empty chart with 0 stars, it does kind of look like the app's broken. So instead of just showing this rectangle, this like gold rectangle, yeah, we'll make another image. What I'm thinking, Luis, is let's try to stay in the code today. So like we can do the logic, we'll wire everything up. I actually haven't given any thought to how we'll show 2 different images. Although if I did everything right, if Brandon a couple months ago gave me bindings, then it should be pretty straightforward, but maybe we'll have to create some bindings. Who knows? But yeah, let's stick in the code. Let's get everything coded up. And then, yeah, if we have time towards the end, we could jump back into Adobe XD and try and get some drawings done. But if we don't, that's what Wednesday's for.
Exactly. Yeah, sounds like a plan. I'm excited to see how we're going to implement everything and see if we actually have bindings from your past self, right?
Yeah, so yeah, the first thing I want to check, let's make this stuff just a little bigger, just a little bit. I want to see, because we made this empty data view way back in the day, and we made this because the app closed. Great. But there's a couple different places where we show this empty data view, where we have a title text, description text. So title is just larger font, probably bold. I mean, it's right here. I can just look at it. So yeah, larger text, and then the description is smaller text, probably not bolded, and then also this image. So this little UI layout is what we're using in 3 different places in the app already. The stars chart gives us a 4th place to use it. And like I was saying a minute ago, the first question I had was, did I create bindings for the image? And the good news is we did. So the reason I was unsure about that was because how do I put this? Every other chart has a static image. So this is the first chart where we're ever going to change the image after its value has been set. But other charts change the title of the description. So for example, on that first repositories page, that first page that loads, there's a couple scenarios that we wanted to handle. So like there's going to be a scenario where maybe somebody just created a GitHub account and connected it, and there's no data. And so the title and the description would say something, and they do say something along the lines of like, no data yet. And then we say something encouraging in the description, like, go get started, good luck, or something. But there's also other scenarios where like, maybe you're just on a plane and we can't connect to the GitHub API. And so that empty data view should say something like, couldn't connect, in the description, in the title would be could not connect to the GitHub API, and the description something like, double check your internet connection. And then there's another scenario where maybe your token's been expired. So maybe you revoked the token that you used to authenticate the GitTrends app. And that's another. So anyways, long story short, yeah, we have multiple places in the app where we're using this empty data view. Almost all of them have dynamic titles and descriptions, but none of them have dynamic images except the stars chart. And so that's why I was a little skeptical that we had bindings in place, because we, until really today, didn't need them. So kudos to me. Kudos to my past self for giving me a binding. So that'll be nice. And that tells me for this stars page that we could basically use bindings here instead of passing in the image. So just as an example, we could say dot bind. Where's our markup extension? There we go. And so empty data view dot image source property, for example, missing a quote, missing that. So we're not going to ship the code looking like this. I don't like how it kind of hits the eye with all these different lines, but just for the sake of showing stuff off, we could pass this in and oh, will that work? No, because that's going to be in the view model. No, we can't even do bindings yet. All right, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Put it all back. So another quick tour. What I did for this trends page, because we essentially have now a carousel page and it's mimicked on both. And we did that on purpose. We want this chart to be the same size. We want it to be in the same location. We want this header data to be above it. And that way, when you navigate to these different pages, your eye already knows where to look. And so to do that, I made this base trends page that is just a grid. And this is an abstract class. The abstract class forces you to pass in your chart. And I called it the statistics layout because that's what it was for the trends chart. But this is probably going to be create header view. That makes more sense now. Because for the stars chart, we're really not going to show any statistics above it. It's going to say whatever this number is, 754 stars. Way to go. So we have these abstract methods that will force the inheriting classes to create those methods. And then because we can now depend on the parent class to do that, or is it the child class? I forget which way inheritance goes when it comes to calling it a parent child. The inheriting class will create a header view so we can pass that into that statistics row. Header row. It'll create a chart view for us. And then we know we want an empty data view. And so we've got some bindings here. And so these are where a couple things are going to change, right? Because right now, both are binding to the same is visible. And that's not always going to happen. Like there's going to be scenarios where you have 0 stars, but maybe you have a couple views. Like there was one right here. So there's a couple views coming in, but the stars is empty. And so we'll have to break this up. So this will become is views clones chart view visible, instead of just being is the empty data view, because it's not the empty data view anymore. There's a couple. And then same thing with the title. Ooh, excuse me. Same thing with the title. It's not just the empty view data title anymore because we're going to have 2. So yeah, why don't we start off with that? So we have, this is our view model now. So this is our trends view model. And we're going to, I should probably change this first. So let's call this the empty, see, empty views clones. Naming's the hardest part. Views clones empty data view title. Nice and verbose. So we'll make another one, and we'll call this stars.
That's good for me.
Yeah, man. Text is free. I don't understand why people try to truncate their words, especially in code. Like, I mean, if it takes up, if the variable name's longer than the screen size, okay, that's a problem. But I always try to be as verbose as I can. And
and sometimes when you're like reading the code and it has like these weird abbreviations that people like make up just cutting off like the A, the E. You're like, what does this say? Like you spend more time trying to read what the variable name is than what you actually are trying to understand the code.
That's the worst.
I definitely try to always put like as well like the scripted names, right? So it's easier to work around it.
Yeah, and actually, I just realized I broke one of my own rules. So this is just some Brandon fun facts. You don't have to do it, but I recommend it. with Booleans, because they're always a true false, I always will make a Boolean variable name a question. So is fetching data, like you put a question mark at the end of that, and that's a sentence.
Yep.
And with these strings, I just realized I violated my own naming principles here. I always will end these with, basically like what it is. Like it is text.
Yeah.
Because the title, maybe that title could be an image. Maybe that title could be whatever. So we'll make sure we use the word text there. You'll notice me moving these around. I just like the way it looks when you kind of have things kind of growing in size when you're just declaring variables.
How were you moving? Can you move it around again? How were you moving around?
Oh, another fun fact. If you hold Option, then you use the arrows and you can move this wherever you want.
What? Okay, I'm taking that from you.
And so it's Option and the arrows on a Mac, and it's Alt plus the arrows on a PC.
Oh, nice.
That's a good one.
Never used that. But yeah, I tend to do the same thing with like text and like image, because there's no way to like keep it sane if you just use like the name of it, right? Because you have different things in the same like areas, right? So in the title, let's say you have a background for the title, you also have the text for the title. So yeah, I completely understand.
Right on. So let's update these text to text. And then that was an old copy paste. All right, so now we can bind our titles and text differently. Awesome. Or bind our chart titles differently, I should say. So the other thing we want to do is an image source. So I don't think I have any image sources in this view models of binding. I don't. So let's make a couple. And for this one, I'm actually going to leave that as nullable, because the default value of a Xamarin Forms image source is null. So let's copy paste a little bit here. So view image, and then this one, same thing, but image, and then I should have copy pasted it down. Well, did I? Is it still on the clipboard? Yes. Okay. Image. Copy paste, copy paste. Views. Boom, boom. Copy paste all this stuff. That's stars. Stars. Oh, not stars clones. Oh no, what do they call it? Stars. Oh, I called it title image. Oh man, I'm getting copy paste errors all over the place. That's okay, we can fix it right here. So you're not a title image, you're just the empty data view image.
And that's why, guys, you should not do this at home.
Just, you know, when you copy paste, just double check.
Yeah. Like I do a lot of copy paste as well, but I notice some of the errors I get like are more tedious is usually because of a copy paste like that.
Yep, been there.
They're really tricky.
And you even found a couple in GitTrends where you're like, hey man, I'm not sure why this is like this. I'm like, oh, whoops, yep, that's copy paste.
Yep.
I like immediately recognized it too. It wasn't even like, I don't know either. It's like, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our separate images for the two charts. We got our separate titles for the two charts. And so now we should be able to wire everything together. So we jump back to this base page. What I'm thinking now is we should have just another abstract method to pass in the empty data view. And this will just force the... Is it parent or child? Do you know what I'm talking about, Luis?
Yeah. So the child of this is gonna... So wait, let me see. brand trends content page. Yeah, the child base. Yeah, the child of this page is gonna implement that.
The child.
Because the child is the one that inherits from the parent, right?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
It will be weird.
Nobody knows.
For your parent to inherit something from you, right?
Oh, that's a good point. That's
yeah,
a good
like
point.
the chicken and the egg thing.
But what's ironic is the child is more complete, more defined than the parent.
Yeah.
I just need to accept it and stop thinking about it. But but yeah, so now if we jump back to our stars trends page, we're gonna get yelled at all over the place because we're not gonna do this in the constructor anymore. So the constructor doesn't need it. And then it's gonna yell at us because we're not implementing the abstract class that it needs. And let's see if we can do this with expression body members. So we're creating the empty new data view, and I think, okay, it doesn't have an empty constructor because it requires an automation ID. So again, good on past Brandon because I forgot about automation IDs. So let's go create those. And if you've never heard of automation IDs before, that's okay. But what they are is a way to specifically identify a view, and they're used during UI testing. And so when you write your UI tests, you don't tell your UI tests to tap a button, because what if there's two buttons on the screen? The UI test is just going to tap the first one it finds. And then you could be like, oh, well, it always finds the top button first, so we'll just tell it to tap the first button it finds. Well, that's great, but what happens when you move the buttons around, or what happens when you add a third button? So with automation IDs, we can literally just I just create these string constants. And so this is how I do it. I create everything as a constant string. I do it as constants because constants are constants are defined at compile time. So that's one of the benefits of a constant is there's no overhead when this app launches. It's not going to have to initialize strings. These strings already exist in my DLL because they're constants. And then the way I name them, I do name of, and then the class. So the class, I have a class for pretty much every page in the app. But some of those pages might have, or another page might also have an activity indicator, or another page might also have an indicator view. And so that's why I do name of this current class plus the name of what it is. And really all of this is just overkill. Like you could just literally mash the keyboard and that's a valid automation ID. And when you write your UI test, you just have to know to look for OE Quio semicolon Q3T semicolon OE QQ30G semicolon, and that's your activity indicator. So I don't recommend doing it like this because that's not super intuitive, but that is valid, and it is a unique identifier that none of my other automation IDs are using. But I like to follow this pattern; helps keep me sane.
Yeah, and you might say it's overkill, but I actually like this more because the IntelliSense even helps you like to form the new lines, right? The new line of code you're doing, because if you're doing the strings, then you have to do the two quotes, you have to write everything. But with this, you just put name of and use the constants you have defined, and that's it.
Yeah,
you can maintain it better, because let's say you want to change the automation ID for the activity indicator. You want to change the string. So then you're going to have to go to each specific file and update it. So yeah.
Oh no, it's terrible. And what I like to do, you'll notice this is in a different project. And I do that so that my UI test can reference the automation IDs from this project, from this mobile.common. And the GitTrends app can also reference the mobile.common library. And I do this because you could just have your UI test project reference your Xamarin Forms project, but there's a lot of things to compile in your Xamarin Forms project. And then including like all these NuGet packages that we bring in, those all now get rolled into your UI tests. So just for the sake of speedier compilations is really what it comes down to. I put these in a separate project, and then the benefit there is it's the same string that I'm calling in my UI test project and my Xamarin Forms project, and so I don't have to worry about typos. There's no hard-coded strings anywhere, and it just makes everything easier. Like, where is... There we go. So this... So this is what the UI test setup looks like, right? I'm just calling the same exact string constant, and I'm terrible with typos, so I want to avoid typos at all costs.
Exactly.
But yeah, so now we have an automation ID. So when eventually we add these new features, we'll write our UI tests, and everything will just work. So this will be automation ID. What's it? Constants. Yeah, speaking of typos, what are you called? Trends page automation IDs. All right. And this is empty stars. So that'll do it, but then we don't have any bindings. And so let's see what it looks like with expression body member. And we'll just say bind to the empty dataview.image source property, and this will be name of Trends view model, and what do we call that? Stars empty data view image. Perfect. And then we're gonna do a couple more bindings for its title property, stars title. And actually we didn't make anything for the description, so that's all we need right now. Probably need a semicolon. Yep. And I think that looks pretty good. Still looks pretty readable. I mean, I think if these were closer it'd be a little tougher to read, but I'm cool with that. And we'll have to update our trends page or view clones page. They're both trend pages, but this is the view clones. All right. Update that, update this. Expression body member, just because I love them. So empty data view. And then this one was our automation IDs for views clones. Tab like crazy. And then we're going to bind. Should just copied that whole thing. Image source. Name of trends view model dot image views clones.
Now that I see you tapping so much, thank God you're not a spacebar guy. Can you imagine? Like 20 spacebar.
I don't get it, man. I don't understand why people like to use a spacebar. But
yeah,
you're allowed to. You can totally do it if you want, but yeah. I don't know.
I know that
it's more efficient to use tabs.
I know that's a topic that causes like, a rebel in the community. People start like, no, we should use spaces. No, we should use tabs. So
I don't know. Man.
I'm just like, use whatever is more comfortable for you is what I say. I prefer tabs.
My guess is, chat with folks. I think more .NET C# people will use tabs. JavaScript seems to be more of the spaces world, because in C#, the way we do indentation is all based off 4 spaces or a tab. So makes a lot of sense. But and I've never really done a lot of JavaScript, but usually I see like 2-space indentation. So yeah, I mean, whatever. If you want to You want to spend all day hitting the spacebar, you're definitely allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I got everything. Let's see if this compiles. And if it does, then it doesn't mean anything because we have to do all the business logic in the view model. But what we should see is if I find a repo with no views and clones, we should see its empty data view. We should see its title. If I click on a repo that has no stars, we should not see an image for the empty data view, and we should not see any titles. That's what I'm expecting. But we'll see what it really looks like.
I see Lester says in the chat, spaces give me anxiety.
Right? Well, then it's
me
like,
too.
oh, did I just do 3 spaces or 4? It's like,
And then you have to be like counting them like, oh shoot, I missed one. 1, 2, 3. Like, I don't have time for that.
nah, get out of here with your spaces.
Yeah.
The ironic thing is Visual Studio saves your files as spaces. So this magic of Visual Studio, we're hitting tab, but all of that turns into spaces. And I know that because I want to say it was Stack Overflow. Somebody did a survey and just looking at repos, and C# was almost all spaces. And I'm like, I don't think so, guys, because I never use spaces and I don't know anybody that does, but it's just because of how the file is saved. So yeah, technically we use a lot of spaces here, but
Yep.
all right, cool. So this is
Nice.
our, we're missing the image though. We're missing everything there. So that's good. We're supposed to be missing everything. This one, because we never did the business logic for the images. The images were hard-coded before. So this is perfect. I will say I'm a little annoyed that is not supposed to show up while that activity indicator is going. And that's because I forgot a binding. Dang it.
Yep.
So bind the isVisible property. So trends page. Oh, not automated. Trends view model. We'll get it.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
And let's see, what did it used to be? Is empty data view visible? Do we not? Oh, we didn't even change that name. Shame on me. So this will be we'll say views trends empty data view visible. And then I have another variable here called is chart visible. So that'll have to be is views. Oh, I said views trends. That's going to happen so much, man. Views clones. Views clones chart. Views clones. Okay. And beautiful. So when we go back here, that's not using views clones. So we need something similar. So for right now, I'm just going to copy paste this logic here. And we'll see what happens later. But I just need a variable to bind to. And so let's just do something here with like is stars chart visible and is fetching data. And then I don't care about any of this. I also wonder, did I do anything with a bool and the stars? Bool and the stars. I don't think so. So yeah, this is all new. So yeah, with the views clone stuff, if we're fetching data, we don't want to display the chart because, well, there's nothing to display. We're still calling the GitHub APIs. Or this is just doing some summations on the daily views, daily clones to see if any exist. So similar logic I'm thinking with stars. We'll say, because we have those lists. What are these lists called? Daily stars. So daily stars list. Oh. And this will have to be count greater than what? Because we're going to show the empty data view if there's 0 stars, and we're going to show it if there's 1 star. But we will show the chart if there's more than 1. So I think that's good for now. And then is stars. And you're going to be this one. Oh, this is interesting. They're both referencing... wonder why I did that. That might be a bug. Feels weird. Because this variable is referencing this variable, and this variable is referencing this variable, but this variable is also referencing this variable.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's the opposite. I see. So, because we don't want to have the empty data view and the chart both visible ever. So that's why it's this, but the opposite. But we don't want anything visible while we're fetching data. So that makes sense.
Yep. Makes
All
sense.
Right. So then the other thing we have to do, so one of the tricks we take advantage of as Xamarin Forms developers is we all have this set property method somewhere in like a base view model class. Like mine looks like this. I'm sure yours looks similar. And what's nice about this is it essentially invokes onPropertyChanged for us. But because we have these read-only properties here that are expression body members, and they're just essentially referencing other properties, we have to manually call onPropertyChange for these. And I do that down here. I've got a couple methods that essentially fire off all these, like anytime something's changed. So, oh, cool. Looks like I have some placeholders. So, yeah, anytime, just to show you where this is called, anytime this daily stars list has changed or has been updated, I'll call this method. And that's because this set property, I have the ability to pass an action into it. So if something is not changed and we do change it, we'll invoke the method and call onPropertyChanged, which is kind of cool, or invoke the action, I should say. And so down here, instead of use clones, is stars. And then instead of use clones is stars data view. Boom. That should do it. All right. So we got the variables in place. Oh, we did that because we were working on bindings. So let's finish those bindings like this. This is my stars page. And this should be, is stars data view visible? Good. And actually, this stars chart, what are you calling for your is visible? Is views series visible? You should be, is stars chart visible? Nice. All right. So that was the stars. Let's do the view clones, because you also need your is visible. Oh no, tell me to take a break. I'm a little busy. Highly recommend that app though, by the way.
Yeah, I was about to ask, what app are you using for like reminding yourself of breaks?
It's an app called Mac Breaks. Let's see, with a Z, yeah, because it's cool. Mac Breaks.
Mac Breaks.
And yeah, what's really nice is like if you're working on the computer all day, every day, like I am, it does two things. The first thing it does is it monitors your activity, so your mouse movements, your keyboard strokes, and if it sees you being very active or what it calls strenuous, then it'll show that little dialogue that says, hey, time to take a micro break. And what's nice about that is you just take 5 seconds, you look away from your screen, you kind of blink your eyes a couple times, you flex your fingers a little bit, and then you're back at it. And then once an hour, Mac Breaks has you literally take a break. So it'll give you some sort of stretch like this. And then you'll do some sort of stretching activity, forces you to get up.
Nice.
And so that way you're not knees deep in code for 3 hours, and then all of a sudden you like come up for air and you're like,
Yeah.
why do my eyes hurt? Like, why does my back hurt?
Yeah.
This is super helpful. And yeah, man, what's funny is I notice when it's not running, like they just pushed out an update recently because I'm on the Big Sur beta of macOS, and they pushed out an update that broke Mac breaks for Big Sur users. And like, I could feel it at the end of the day. Like my eyes hurt, like my back hurt. So
Yeah, definitely.
check it
And
out.
Sometimes like, you get stuck while like working. And a good way of like getting back on track is just standing up and walking around and like, relaxing your mind. Yeah, definitely recommend breaks. 'Cause my back is horrible. I have like,
same.
a bad back, so I can't stay like for 4 hours straight. And the breaks have helped me a ton as well. Yeah. But I'll use that app because I don't have an app to remind me. I just put like a timer, like 25 minutes or something, and then I set up. But yeah, that app is going to be really
Yeah, the nice thing is like when it's giving you those stretching exercises, like it takes over your computer. Like you can't, well, you can change it in the settings, but I've set mine so like I can't exit out of that. And so it's like I'm forced to take this break. And yeah, I found these little micro breaks are really helpful to avoid eye strain, finger strain, all the strains.
Definitely.
All right. So now we have everything bound to our view model.
So what should we expect now when we open the app?
Basically the same thing, except when we launched it last time, I mentioned something like, I was like, that's weird. The title shouldn't appear while the activity indicator's on the screen. And so now this time, the title better not be there while the activity indicator's there. So let's find out. Perfect. And so we see like all these values, including the title and what will be the image when we update our business logic, all appear once that activity indicator's gone. And then I assume the same thing's happening back here, but we'd have to flip really quickly. Ha! No. That's okay.
Nice try.
I'm feeling confident. We don't.
Yep.
So, yeah, business logic, man. So in the view model, now we need to update the empty data state. And I think I have empty. I know I use the word empty so much in here. I thought I had a property. Oh, maybe I don't do it in this class, because in other classes. Oh, that's right. So yeah, we've never had to do anything dynamic for this empty data view because the title is always no traffic yet. Because if you had like one view, we would still show the chart because it was a lonely view on the chart, but the chart still conveyed the information accurately. But in other view models, like on the repository page, I have, where is it? Oh, that's the page, not the view model. Come on. So in the repository view model, there we go. I have this property called refresh state. And this is the only time in my life where I've ever used just a setter. And this used to have a getter on it, but I eventually realized like I was never querying or asking for the value of refresh state. So I got rid of it. And I was like, this looks weird. And I always wondered why .NET even gave us the ability to have a set only property. But I kind of like how it turned out. Like it's basically just a method. But the way it's used is once the data's done, whether it was successful, whether it failed, then we set the refresh state. So we basically set this last. And so like if everything worked, refresh state dot succeeded. If the login was expired, then we pass that in. And if there was the maximum API limit, we pass that in. And if there's an error, we pass that in. And so what's kind of cool with all this is I made these services. Again, like probably way over optimized stuff, but for the repository title text, all you have to do is pass in the refresh state, which is what we get here. And then we check to also see if there's any values in the list. And then this switch statement will give us back exactly the title text that we need. And this is the way I did it because there was so many different states that we had to account for. Like, again, like if you're uninitialized, like you haven't done a pull to refresh yet, or if it succeeded and the repository list isn't empty, then we have a refresh state called no filter match, because what's going to happen is eventually you're going to search for something. And we'll wait for that to finish. But so we have this empty data view that's always there or always there in our collection view. But it tells you if you typed in some text for your filter, then there's no filter match. So that's one thing. So we had to account for all of these. And instead of just having like a bunch of if statements or random scattered code, it made a lot of sense to put them all in the same place here. And so this accounts for all the states. And then I always love having this default state throw an exception so that if we ever add new code in the future and we forget to update this, then our app will crash and burn right away, because I want that to happen while I'm developing it rather than a bug sneaking through to the app stores.
Yep.
So what I'm wondering is, I made these refresh states, and this was all based around a pull to refresh. So there's not a refresh state. Oh, I guess we don't need one. Refresh state. So either there's going to be data or there isn't. But now that I'm looking at this architecture, this is something we didn't talk about, but maybe we do it where like succeeded is like, some of these are still valid, like the succeeded, login expired, and error, because the way this app works, if you've already loaded all the data here, so hey, Xamarin Community Toolkit's trending, all right. If you've already loaded all the data, when you tap the repo, it just displays the data. That activity indicator is literally just there for consistency's sake. It's not actually, the app's not actually calling any APIs. That activity indicator is there because if you haven't loaded the data yet, then the app will then need to make the API call. So if I tap on a repo before the stats are downloaded, face off. So now that was actually calling the API. And what I do, just like I said, for consistency's sake, is even if the data is there, still show the activity indicator just for half a second, so that it's not jarring to the user because the user doesn't know. They don't know if the data is already available or not. They just they just want a consistent UI, and something's gonna look broken on one side or the other, just depending on what they're used to. So yeah, it's definitely possible for them to tap the repo, them to maybe be on an airplane where there's no internet connection, and for that to fail. So I think all these refresh states are still valid. And the other thing now, I mean, how do we handle the 0 stars versus 1 star? Well, the repository view model is doing that by having just basically checking the repository list. So I think we can leverage all the same refresh states, those existing enums. We can leverage this existing architecture here where we have this empty data view service giving us all the titles and text. But for this one in particular, or similar to the repository page where we ask if the list is empty or not, we could just pass that in for the stars data. So I think we can leverage a lot of this existing architecture, which is good. That makes me happy because that's that's the point of architecture, right? Like, we gave a lot of thought to this a couple months ago, and now it's making our life easier.
Yeah, we're saving a ton of time now with the implementation thanks to that.
Boom. So yeah, let's just do that. Let's see, where are we? Trends view model. And the difference here is we're going to have, let's see. So we have our views clones title text. And we'll have a views clones image. And we'll have stars title text, and our stars image. I should probably put some dummy code here so IntelliSense keeps working for me. Stars, come on. I always type starts. It's a weird quirk. Okay, cool. So now we just have to create these methods over here where we define what the titles are. I'm just kind of thinking we'll go copy paste. So that's repository. This is referring sites. So why don't we do it down here? So get views clones title text, and views clones will never care whether the repos or not. Well, the empty state won't. Views clones title. And this is stars title. And then, but the stars will care. Take it. So we want to copy paste this one. So is stars list empty? Should have done a refactor, but that's okay. Get stars title text. And then, yeah, basically the same thing for the images. So views clones image. All right. So that was a lot of copy pasting.
Yeah.
We'll have to
but hopefully
clean that up.
everything will work perfect, right? You just need to replace the strings and that's it.
It always does eventually, man. So let's finish up this trends view model here. And what I'll do, views clones. So let's put a nothing below this line has been implemented yet. So it's just copy paste. So got a nice little compiler there to come back to.
Yep. Nice touch.
Thanks. All right, so for this, the views clones is just going to be the empty state, and this is get views clones image, get views clones title. Excuse me. This is get stars title. Nope, stars title image. What a bad name. Stars image, much better. Get stars title text, and then this does care. So this will be our, was it daily stars list? Yep. Boom, boom. And let's make sure the booleans. So is stars list empty? So the opposite of any is empty when it's true. So cool. So we've got that set up. Now we need to add in some logic for our refresh state. Let's see. It starts off with this try catch block. Oh man, things are gonna get. This try catch block is gonna grow. So I say that because now we have to like catch exceptions and handle those errors, which is fine. We're just gonna copy paste a lot of code, but. But you can kind of see that logic I was talking about. Like if you tap on the repository when the data's been loaded, it'll just display the data. But if
Yep.
you haven't loaded the data yet, then it has to hit all the APIs, and we do them all in parallel. The test that went all, blah, blah, blah. But
Nice.
down here, we should never be setting this now. So let's, because this title text, the image, that should all happen in our refresh state. So let's just go ahead and let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Actually, what was that? Unable to retrieve data. Oh, that's good. We already have already got some text for that. Okie doke. So instead of that, now we say refresh state equals refresh state dot succeeded. Because if we get through here with never throwing an exception, then we know we're good. But
Yep.
right now, we just have a catch block to catch all the exceptions. And what we should be doing is copying what we're doing in here. So this is where I said like these catch blocks are going to get messy, and I'm just gonna bring them in.
Yeah. I remember seeing this one in the last session. It's like a really nice catch, but it's long. Just
Yeah, I know,
copy-paste
right?
that.
Like I hate having these long methods or methods with with many lines of code in them.
Mm-hmm.
But
This one
you
is
have to
required.
like
Yeah.
with a try catch block, you can't put the catch somewhere else.
Yep.
I guess you could, but it probably would be very intuitive. So, all right. So let's see. A lot of this stuff doesn't need to be here. Like this is stuff specific to the repository page. I do like the idea of making sure our repositories are empty. Okay, cool. So we're doing a lot of stuff in the finally block. This is where we're finally displaying the data. And so that means there's another variable up here. Yeah, repositories, all this stuff. So these are what we want to make empty. What do they default to, I wonder? Oh, they default to empty. Maybe we still put them to empty because, well, yeah. Technically, the code will break here. Like if there's an exception with either of the three APIs, it'll throw the exception on this line, and we'll never get to this line.
Yep.
So in theory, yeah, these should still be empty by the time they get down here. But what I'm thinking is, in the future, if we ever change this code up here, then it might break code down here if we don't just say it's empty. And the nice thing about using array.empty is we won't have a hit of an extra allocation. Because what we could do, let's just copy paste this. So this is the best way to do it to avoid that allocation. Of course, you want to spell it right. But yeah, you could also say new list and what was that, daytime offset? So you could do this, but now you're creating a new list in memory. Another option is enumerable.empty. So we could do this, but we're using the data type of I read-only list. This is something I do a lot, and I do a lot on purpose, because if something comes back from an API, I do not want to be able to change it. That data should be what's called immutable, unchangeable. Because if I'm able to change that data, then I just kind of rewrote history is the way I look at it, because this data should be what came back from the API. And so yeah, enumerable.empty is another option, similar to array.empty, but it takes array.empty one step further and creates an enumerable. So if this was an IEnumerable, we could do this, but to get it to work with a list, we'd have to do two lists, and then we just get hit with that list allocation like we did last time. So array.empty, this is kind of nice little shortcut. And all of these .empty, so array.empty, enumeral.empty, they will always reference the same empty array or the same empty enumerable down inside the guts of .NET. So you could call array.empty 100 times. There's only ever going to be one allocation for that initial static value for an empty array. So
Nice.
yeah, a little fun fact. I just learned about these fairly recently, probably within the last year. And so happy to preach the goodness to the rest of the world, because if I didn't know about it, I kind of assume other people didn't know about it. And now we all do.
Yep.
So what else are we doing here? This code doesn't need to be here. That's specific to the previous view model that we copied it from. But this code does. Using refit. Oh, wait. I want to show you this too. I just discovered this recently, Luis. I don't know if you knew about this. I always, when I use the light bulb, oh, it's not there anymore? Using... Oh, bummer. Well, I don't know what happened, but so you see in here, it's like it found the two missing using statements from this line.
Yeah.
I was working on something the other day, and instead of having these as separate options, there's a third option. Maybe it's in Visual Studio on PC, but there's a third option just said import all usings. So with one mouse click, I could bring in refit and I could bring in system.net. But
yeah, I think I've seen that, but in Visual Studio for PC, I think.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we'll get it. All right. So, my GitHub API exception service is missing. So this, we'll have to inject that into here. And again, just because I think it looks pretty, I like to cascade these as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because when you have like that long line in the constructor, it's really hard to like read all the services you're getting. So yeah, I also do this. I try to keep everything inside of the same screen.
Yeah, because the other nice thing is if you have a value, so in this case, it's literally the length of the text, which is how I'm sorting it. But if it's sorted alphabetically, that's cool too, because as long as the constructor, what's being injected in the constructor is sorted the same way as these read-only fields, as sorted as the same way as the assignments, then it just makes it easier to find everything. So,
yep.
Yeah, I mean, this could be here, this could be down here, but like, yeah, help out your future self, help out your future open source maintainers.
Yep.
And have some fun with it. And it looks pretty. So GitHub API exception service. This basically is that, whoops, wrong one. This one. This one basically is that NuGet package I was talking about earlier. So shameless plug, just because it's new and I'm still proud of it. Well, I'm always proud of it. Things I create.
Yep. Let me put the link in the chat for that.
So yeah, I just published this to NuGet, and basically it's just a way to double check if you're hitting the maximum API call limit for the GitHub API. So I have all this stuff is documented here. Like this is from the GitHub docs. How for the REST API you're limited to 5,000 requests per hour. For the GraphQL API, it's similar, but they calculate a rate limit because GraphQL is a little different, and so it taxes the servers differently than REST. But basically, these are just the headers we needed to parse, and we had been doing this manually in GitTrends, and now these all just existed in NuGet package. So if you also want to check out your rate status, you can do that. There's even this API here where you can just say, get my current API rate limits, and it'll give you the REST API, well, all the GitHub APIs. So like I said, shameless plug just because it's hot off the presses. But again, it's very niche.
Yeah.
So what I did, so that's this class here. So this, if I say go to declaration, then it's jumping into the NuGet package. This is probably pulling down the source code from
Nice.
what's that called? Where you can debug into NuGet packages. Source link. Let's go with source link. But anyways,
Yeah.
I just extended the class a bit because I also wanted to handle exceptions. So you'll see in a second where we have a catch block where we want to see if the exception that was thrown because it had reached the maximum API call limit. And so this method down here is using the method in the NuGet package, and I just extended it here so that all I had to do is pass in the exception, and it could check the API exception, it could check the GraphQL exception, because I can just pass in their headers like this. So saves a little bit of code, and this is also something I'm using in a couple different places around GitTrends, because as you know, we're building a catch block right now that needs it. So again, just helping out future selves. So now the red squiggles are gone here, and we know if we hit this exception, then it's because we're at the maximum limit. I know that one's specific to the previous class we copied it from. This is specific. Previous class we copied it from. Copy paste this. Boom, boom. So now we've set our refresh state to be the maximum API limit. And then, yeah, now we're back to the catch-all. So what did I have before? Trends view model.
Yeah, while you check that, I'll be right back. I'll take a bathroom break. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So in the previous catch block, oh gosh, that diff is tough to read. Let's look at it on the GitHubs. So what I want to see was just what was in that previous exception block so that I don't forget to so I don't delete code and forget to bring it back in. And let's view the code. GitTrends. View model. Trends view model. Okay, so the previous one just was reporting the exceptions to our analytics service, that's just App Center, and then setting the empty data view title, which we're not doing anymore, and also setting everything to array.empty. So, okay, cool. That means we can do this and this. Boom. Nice. All right, so now we have a refresh state defined. I think we've hit all of them because we've got success, we've got login expired, we've got maximum API limit and error. So success, expired, maximum, error. Defaults to uninitialized, but why don't we just go ahead and let's see. Can I do that here? Is that kosher in C#? Nope. So let's do that in the constructor then. Even though I think its default value would be 0. Why risk it, right? So we'll define that here. So what's cool now is everything in this class is done because we've got the refresh state. So anytime the refresh state changes, we'll pass that value and update the image, the title text, the image, the title text for stars and views and clones. And we've got all these catch blocks now, these beautiful catch blocks that will handle whenever we're unauthorized, meaning our login expired, if we've reached the maximum API call limit, and then just the default kind of catch-all. We don't really know what happened, but we don't want the app to crash catch. So now we can handle, where'd it go? The empty data view service and all these methods. So we basically made these methods as a placeholder, just because I wanted to finish the logic in the trends view model, and then I figured we'd jump back in here. So now we can get rid of that because we're back. And let's see what these all are. So there's this empty data view constants internal. What is that? Ooh, this is getting into resx. That's right. Because we have friends who are smarter than me, who know multiple languages, that were able to translate GitTrends into, I think we're translating to 8 different languages right now, which is amazing, especially considering I'm just the dumb American who only speaks English. But all these exist inside of a resx file. So empty data view constants internal looks to be the one we're using for everything. Cool. So that's this one. And let's do a little side-by-side here. So uninitialized says data not gathered. Okay, that makes sense because this is uninitialized just means we haven't done pull to refresh yet. So that still is valid here. So I'm cool with keeping that for our views and clones. Now succeeded, we're not going to use no repositories found. This is where we need to put in, probably we should just put in there what used to be in there. So what were we passing in? Oh, we said no traffic yet.
And I'm back.
Hey, welcome back.
So how did it go with the catch all?
Oh, good. I mean, there was basically, we looked up the code, and this was the previous catch block, and there was nothing there. So crisis averted. But yeah, so going through and updating this empty data view service now, which is basically just all these switch statements. And we copied and pasted these from above and just making sure that these still make sense. And we found that refresh state.uninitialized calls empty data view constants.uninitialized, which is one of our translated resx files that just says data not gathered. And that's still totally valid. So keep it.
Yeah.
But what we copy and pasted from above was for succeeded says no repositories found. And that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So looking at the old code, we were previously calling empty data view constants dot no traffic yet. Yeah. So boom, pop that in there. Now login expired, that says GitHub login expired. That's totally valid. Error. We had another error down here, unable to retrieve data.
Nice. It's matching up.
Oh, and actually that's already, I didn't even have to put anything there.
Yeah.
Cool. And then the maximum API limit is also saying unable to retrieve data. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
We could have a whole nother one, but we'd also have to get it. So one of the downsides of having everything translated, is if we add in any new text, then I have to make about 8 or 10 phone calls to friends and call in some more favors.
Yeah.
Then they can come in and translate it for me. So I think that looks good for views clones. So stars is going to get a little dicey. So let's skip stars for a second and let's just fix the image. We only will ever use one image for the views clones image. So really, but how do we do this? Because one thing we could do is this, and then this is the image, which, what was that image? I think it was just empty
French chart, but I think we changed it. We changed it to empty traffic.
Yeah,
chart.
Empty traffic chart. Good memory.
So
yeah, like one thing we could do is just this, and actually this is an image source. Oh, where's this file live though? Is that, where are we? We're in mobile.common. Mobile.common doesn't know about Xamarin Forms on purpose. So, okay, string's still fine because we will return the string, and then you can always pass in a string to a Xamarin Forms image source. So, still totally kosher. But yeah, the thing I don't like about this is this catch-all or just hard coding it here. Again, what if we add a different refresh state? And what I want to do, and it's going to look a little silly, but whoops, let's do this, and this, and this, is I'm going to keep all these and just do this. And again, the reason I'm doing it like this, it looks silly, but if we ever add another refresh state,
Yeah.
I mean, we're literally dealing with empty states right now. So obviously empty states are going to come up again in the future. I'd rather do it like this because
It's keeping the consistency. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, exactly. So like I want that error to be thrown. Errors are good things. A lot of people think exceptions are bad. We should put everything into try catch block, but no, exceptions are good because they tell you when something failed. And if we plant exceptions in our code like this, then as we add new things in the future, or maybe somebody in the community opens up a pull request and writes some code, then like this will help save us in the future. So
Yep.
I'm a big fan of exceptions. That one took me a couple years to get to, though. I hated exceptions when I first started. It's like, why is my app always crashing? Okay. So now the stars title, this is going to be all new. We're going to need some translations here.
Yep. You gotta make some phone calls.
Yep. So let's start plugging them in. What do we have? You know what? Let's just hard code some things first, and then
Yep.
because I think we've made a lot of changes, especially all the business logic stuff. I'd prefer to see things working.
Yep. And then put the final strings to it. Yeah. I agree.
Initialized. Yeah. Because who knows? Maybe we mess something up in the business logic. So we'll just say succeeded and not empty. Although if it succeeded, the chart will always be there. Oh wait, chart. But if this is showing, then this is our 1-star text. Whereas
Exactly.
if the API call succeeded and it is empty, then this is our 0 stars text. Good catch. Okay.
Yes.
Login expired. What's that go to? Please log in again. Please log in again. That's probably fine. Error when it's empty. If the API call failed, then it doesn't matter. So the error, we won't have two different states for the error. We'll just put error there for now. And then that's the maximum API limit. So say, all right, so something like that. And then for the image, I mean, the image, if it's uninitialized, I'm kind of cool with putting in, let's copy paste this name here, empty star chart. So there's nothing yet because we're doing a pull to refresh. The activity, like this shouldn't even be visible because the activity indicator should be spinning and should be hiding everything. But just in case it is visible for a second, because you know when you call iNotify property changed on things like is busy, that has a cascading effect. So all those little property changed, it looks like it happens instantaneous because our eyes just can't pick it up. Our brains aren't good enough to detect that these changes all happened in a couple milliseconds. But thinking on older devices, you'll probably see there's a potential that you could see that change. So yeah, we'll just use empty star chart there. But if you succeeded and you're empty, that should also be empty stars chart. Like that. But if you succeeded and you're not empty, then this is, we'll just have to say 1 star chart. That'll be our placeholder because we haven't made the 1 star.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Empty 1 star empty chart.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll think of a better name. It also can't start with a 1. That's an invalid variable name. And then, yeah, I don't think we need to worry about anything else. I think we can always have the empty star chart for the other states. Whew. Okay. I guess we run it and see what happens.
And pray. Okay. So hopefully everything is gonna run in the first try. You know?
And hopefully we find bugs. Like I'm more nervous when everything just works.
Yeah, true. Then you're questioning yourself, did I actually do the thing right?
Right? And actually, that error can still be... I'm thinking these could still be this. So the only thing we'll be able to test here on the stream is the 1 star and the 0 star states. Uninitialized, like we said a minute ago, should never appear to the user unless you're on like a slower device or you have superhuman eyeballs, or maybe you just slow down the screen's refresh rate for some reason. And then error, maximum API limit, login expired. Well, for error, I'd have to unplug from the internet and then I lose everybody. Login expired.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got 20 minutes left, but I don't know if I want to burn all 20 minutes just chewing down my GitHub API rate limit. Or login expired. I don't know if there's a way I could test that just with the app as it is. I think I'll have to literally create a test case for that where I'm flipping variables. But anyways, let's just make sure. Oh no, where'd my stars go?
What did we do?
Oh, my stars disappeared. Well, good. We wanted to find bugs and we did. So what that tells me is something in that star page. So trends, stars trends. And that is the stars chart. So I'm thinking I probably broke a binding. Where do we do all the bindings? Set bindings, item source, daily stars list. Is stars chart visible? Maybe that was... Oh, okay. So there's a couple things I probably broke. Dang it.
Yep.
So let's put a breakpoint down here. And let's see what the state of the view model is when we get to succeeded. I should not have stopped debugging. I don't know why my builds got really slow lately. I don't know if that's a Visual Studio thing or an Xcode thing, but I don't usually remember that being this slow. Maybe just because the camera's on.
Kind of taking a little bit more. Yeah, but it is, as you say, it could be also the other, because we're streaming and everything. It could be the load.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just click on one. Boom, succeeded already. Great. All right, so what I want to know, and maybe we should put this at the end of finally. Also good that we knew it succeeded, but... So stars list is 77. So that tells me my stars chart is visible. Is stars chart visible? So this is making sure we're not fetching data anymore, which... Go back to the breakpoint. So is fetching data is now false. Great. So not fetching data, that's now true. And then is stars chart visible is stars chart is data view. Oh, that's the data view. Dang it. We want the stars chart. Okay. So we're not fetching data anymore. So that's true. And the count is 77. So that should be true. But there it is.
Wait.
We changed no code.
Yeah, like what did we do? Just compile it again.
What was the first? I think this was the first one I clicked on. Okay, so we did repeat it. Good.
Yeah.
All right, so this.
So what's happened?
So yeah, this is just totally empty. All right, so let's actually. That's weird.
Yeah.
But let's figure it out. So we did succeed.
So wait, how do you repeat it? Just now. What do you?
Oh, it's just a different repo.
Oh,
so
okay.
the Xamarin Community Toolkit repo is not showing the stars chart.
Okay.
And so is fetching data is false, and daily stars 754. And so is star chart visible? Oh, it's literally true right now.
Yeah.
And then the empty data view is false, so that's good. And then the stars we're binding to. That's bizarre. Let's see if any other. Let me disable my breakpoints for a second. Let's see what other repos. Okay, mobile Blazor bindings. That one's busted. Async await best practices is busted. GitTrends is busted. So something's going on.
Yeah, like it worked the first time and then it broke after that. Maybe.
Are these? Yeah, it just looks like everything's busted. Okay.
Yeah.
So wonder if I'm not calling on property change or something. Start village. Let's see. So, I disabled the other breakpoints. Dang it. I need to do this in order. Okay. So we have not finished fetching data yet, but we changed. So we're probably right here. Yeah, because the star list now has a count. And so we on property change, is chart visible? Is the view visible? Daily stars. I mean, that seems good. And then we finish fetching the data. So we just put another breakpoint right here because I think that's where we paused a second ago. So we hit that. I don't want to step into. I was saying step over. Step over. No. Okay. We'll force you to step over. Boom. Oh, it's hitting it because all the order buys.
Yeah.
Come on, Link. Okay, cool. So that's where we were hitting this. So the stars data is there, and then we're just calling on property change to notify the UI that things have been updated. Actually, we did see the stars chart was visible, so that wasn't anything weird. It was just that it didn't show any data, and we didn't necessarily change anything on the data side.
The item source for the chart.
Why did you disappear? So stars chart. Its item source is the daily stars list. We know that's been updated. I do have this zoom stuff. This is all the logic to do the zooming. It's more complex than I expected, but we can disable zooming by doing this. So let's just make sure zooming has nothing to do with this.
Yep.
Man, that's weird. I did not expect that as a bug.
Yeah, same here. Because it even like worked the first time and then it never worked again and makes kind of no sense, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, that could have been because I tapped a repo before. I got to get out of iOS. Let's see if Android's any faster. Then it's going to do this thing.
I
Now when you
actually
click
feel
stop,
like I actually feel like the iOS build time is quicker than the Android one.
well, we're about to find out.
Let's
We
see.
got 12 minutes left.
Yep.
It's a race, Android.
Oh. It opened quickly.
It's just because I clicked on it. It was already open.
Ah, okay. You're cheating. Close it down and open it again. No, no, no.
Yeah, it's not any faster.
Yeah, I told you. Let's see. I guess it's just your... But it says in the activity monitor that it's like chilling. Like your PC is not even...
Oh, that's just the traffic.
Oh, but you can see like the CPU and the memory as well.
Oh, down here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this laptop's a beast. Like this is the 2019, the 16-inch MacBook Pro.
Oh,
It's got
nice.
64 gigs of RAM.
Wow.
I don't remember the processor, but
Nice.
yeah, like 4 terabytes of storage.
Oh
Got this
my
external
god.
hard drive, another 8 terabytes. It's obnoxiously powerful.
Yeah.
Thanks, thanks
nice.
Microsoft for buying me a work computer.
Yeah. That's,
Okay, so let's see.
You don't need anything else.
So we've just disabled the zooming, and let's go ahead and disable those breakpoints again. Boop. Okay, so it's not zooming. You can see
Okay.
the date
Yeah.
range down here. So
Oh,
that
wait.
had nothing to do with it.
Is that... I think the date range broke as well.
Nope, it's just this repo's been around since 2017. So
Okay.
that had nothing to do with it. So let's resume. Actually, we only have 10 minutes left. I want to show this to you, man, because I got the zoom working, but I never told you how I did it.
Oh, yeah.
So what I first wanted to do, well, you'll see I'm subscribing to stars series.property changed. And because my first thought was, when I know that the item source has been updated, then I can zoom. And so if property name is item source, then we can do some work, which seemed great in theory, but the item source will change in memory before, and then, so the item changes in memory, and then the UI draws it onto the chart, or the UI thread draws it onto the screen. So I initially had this logic only based around if the item source changed, then what I would do is zoom it. And there's this, where is it? In Sync Fusion, if you're using this chart behaviors they have all built in, there's just a built-in method called zoom by range. So you can tell it where you want to zoom in for the primary and secondary axes. So I was like, oh, easy, no problem. So once I
Nice.
know, so I was like, once I know that the item source has changed, then I can zoom to it. Well, I tried that and like the zoom just didn't do anything. I was like, that's so weird. And I eventually figured out that I had hit this race condition that the new chart had not rendered yet. So, yeah, what I'm doing now is we're still subscribing. We're waiting for the item source to change, and then subscribing to another event handler, waiting for the renderer to change. Because once I know the renderer has changed, once I know this is fired, then I can zoom the stars chart. And So this looks a little weird. This is actually one of the really cool ways to take advantage of local functions, because this is an event subscription that will only ever be needed by this event subscription. And so you can kind of nest them all together to avoid any other methods calling or subscribing to it. And you can also keep the state. So when this is called, the sender is that trends area series. So I can just get its item source. I know that's the daily stars list. And then I can wait for this to change. And I can still pass in that daily stars variable into it.
Nice.
Thanks to this nested local function. So I love taking advantage of quirky stuff like this in C#. But I still called task.yield to yield to the UI thread. I don't know if I still have to do this, but yeah, I was like, just in case.
Yeah.
Because maybe renderer property changed, but the UI hadn't been drawn yet. So that was kind of, I didn't play around with that one too much, but yeah, then once we get in here, then we zoom to those parameters we talked about, where if, make sure there's something in the chart. And if there is, then we can zoom to the maximum star count. So I've got a couple variables up here. So the maximum days we should zoom to is 365. The minimum number of stars we should zoom to is 10. And then the maximum number of stars we should zoom to is 100.
Nice.
And so this is basically the logic to, where'd it go? To handle all that. So if you have enough stars that you're above the maximum star count, then we'll zoom to that. And using these little range indicators that are new in C#8. So this says, you ever seen these?
Nope.
So let's do this. This is the same thing as saying daily stars list dot length, dot count -1.
Okay.
So
nice.
So yeah, in C#8 they added this. I think they call it the range indicator or index, range index. But basically, it tells it to start counting backwards. So instead of having to do all this, you can just do a little caret up, and then you're good to go.
So it's like when in C++ you would do like the inverse index operator, you would like do the same thing you're doing there. And that's a nice shorthander. I like it.
And it's nice too, because I could also work backwards from, this is working backwards from 100. And so I can get that stars model.
Wow.
That's 100 back, so that I can know what date and basically the X and Y axis to zoom in onto. So
that's
so yeah, that one's cool. But yeah, man, we've only got 5 minutes left. I have no idea why the stars aren't showing up, but I am pretty confident I won't be able to figure it out in 5 minutes. So
yeah.
What are we doing Wednesday?
Well, so on Wednesday, let me show quickly here my screen so we can look at what we are going to be doing. Let me add my screen to the stream again. Let's see. So on Wednesday, we'll go over the proposals for the empty state for the 1 star for the illustration. So I did a bit of homework here. I created some illustrations. I got this guy walking as a base, and then I got a little bit these stars from here, like customized it a bit, and also got this one. So Wednesday we're gonna choose what goes better, and I also have I actually like this one more than the left one because they're like really excited for the stars. Same. Right?
Yeah.
And here as well, I started creating some phrases for the empty states, right? I have them there, but it's not like I'm loving them. So I'll still work through them from today to Wednesday and see if I can grow this to at least like 10 for each. And then
They're
we
a
can
bit
just
long.
discard them. Yeah, they're kind of long, right? That's why I
Like-
kind of not love them, because I want them to be like this size. See?
Yeah, probably even shorter. Because like if we zoom out and look at the UI where we're gonna plug these into, like, yeah, keep it up is probably like I imagine we want to keep this text in between those two stars. So like in my head, those are kind of the boundaries.
Oh,
And so,
wait,
like-
this text was for, so let me explain a little bit. So this one is like the title,
Oh,
and this is like
that's
the
the empty
description.
view.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So that'll go
So-
there. Okay.
Yeah, so for this one, I only came up with this sort of idea for stargazers. I still need to think like for 2 or 1 words for these, but I was still struggling with this one. So I wanted to like finish this bottom part and then work on this little titles on the top.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've got some short quips that we can use. I do something similar in my other app, Punday, where
Oh,
there's like I just have like an array of encouraging texts, and then I'll just randomly pick one. So we could probably steal some of those. I don't
Nice.
think those are too long. But
Yeah.
we'll find out on Wednesday.
Yep. So that's basically what we're gonna be doing on Wednesday, and probably we're gonna finish this like mockups complete, like the Star Tracker mockups. We're probably gonna finish now on Wednesday because we don't have
I
much
hope so,
work
man.
left there. Yeah. So if we
say that a
finish
lot.
that, yeah, if we finish that on Wednesday, we might be able to start seeing or talking about maybe the favorite feature. Since that one
Definitely.
is gonna be like more straightforward to do than I think the about us. If we do the about us, that's gonna be really intense work to mock it up in the
Right.
time we're gonna have left. Yeah.
Yeah, the is favorite, and well, I don't want to put the cart ahead of the horse, but I did a bunch of work already in the view model, so all that
Yeah.
should be good to go. We should just be able to wire up a couple things, but
Nice.
yeah, that's what, like sliding one of the rows over and being able to tap a star.
Yeah, and see what we're
Easy,
gonna
right?
put like on the card to make it
Right.
give the idea that it's favorite, right? So yeah, that should
right.
probably be it for Wednesday. So thank you everyone for coming. I see you're still there in the chat. Not much comments by the end, but remember, you can always ask questions while we are explaining. We're out of time, but make sure that in the next sessions, just if Brandon is going too quick through the code, just say, "Hey, Brandon, chill a little bit. Let's go through this a little bit." So yeah, we have definitely no problem with that. If I'm mocking up something,
Yeah.
I use some shortcut. You have a question, you can do it. And yeah, I think today was a great session. We got to go through a lot of the code and like wire up most of the stuff. And yeah, I hope everybody has a good rest of the Friday and of the weekend, and see you next week. If you have something else to add, Brandon, any event or something coming up?
Just if you're in the U.S., make sure to go vote. Voting days
Oh yeah.
or voting ends on Tuesday.
Yep.
I hate that people say like voting day is Tuesday. It's like, no, like, we've been voting for weeks. I voted weeks ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I
if
voted
you haven't
as
voted
well.
yet, get it done before Tuesday.
Yes, please. We need all the votes we can get. Yeah. So thank you everyone for coming, and to Lester, Omero, Faisa, and to all the new followers we gained today as well. And see you next week. Bye.